The pursuit of unshakable calm, a cool head amidst life's inevitable storms, is not a modern desire but an ancient discipline. Stoicism, a philosophy born in the agoras of Athens and refined in the halls of Roman power, offers not mere theoretical comfort, but a practical operating system for the human mind. It is a toolkit for resilience, built on the fundamental premise that while we cannot control the events that befall us, we retain absolute sovereignty over our judgments, reactions, and inner world. This first chapter lays the cornerstone of that practice, cultivating the foundational Stoic mindset. It is about preparing what the great Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius called the inner citadel, a fortress of rationality and virtue that cannot be breached by external chaos. To never lose your cool is not to become emotionless, but to ensure your emotions are informed by reason, not hijacked by impulse. It begins with the deliberate and daily practice of 3 core habits: understanding the dichotomy of control, practicing negative visualization, and the rigorous discipline of assent. The single most transformative Stoic concept is the dichotomy of control, most eloquently framed by the philosopher-slave Epictetus. He begins his Enchiridion with the stark truth: some things are within our power, while others are not. Within our power are our own judgments, impulses, desires, and aversions, in essence, our internal world of choice and opinion. Not within our power are our body, our property, our reputation, our office, and in a broad sense, every external event and the actions of other people. The immediate and chronic cause of human distress, anxiety, and lost composure is the fundamental error of confusing these 2 categories. We exhaust ourselves by trying to control the weather, the traffic, a colleague's opinion, or the outcome of a project over which we have only partial influence. We tie our inner peace to the strings of externals, handing the remote control of our emotional state to a chaotic and indifferent universe. The habit, therefore, is to begin every day and intercept every rising agitation with a simple question: is this within my control? If it is not a rude comment, a canceled flight, a market downturn, the Stoic response is not frustration, but a conscious, almost serene, acceptance. This is not passive resignation. It is the active and intelligent conservation of energy for what you can control: your response, your effort, your attitude, your integrity, your next move. By continually sorting your experiences into these 2 buckets, you drain the power from external annoyances. The rude comment becomes not a personal affront you must angrily counter, but simply data, an external event. You regain your cool because you have stopped trying to command the wind and instead learn to adjust your sails. Building upon this foundation of clear judgment is the seemingly counterintuitive practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils or negative visualization. To the uninitiated, this may sound like pessimistic worrying, but it is its precise philosophical opposite. Worry is an involuntary, chaotic dread of potential futures. Negative visualization is a voluntary, structured, and serene contemplation of life's fragility designed to inoculate the mind against shock and cultivate profound gratitude. Seneca advises us to periodically rehearse in our minds the potential losses we fear, not just the grand tragedies, but the daily irritations. What if your car breaks down on the way to an important meeting? What if your project proposal is rejected? What if you face unfair criticism? By visiting these possibilities in the calm of your own mind, you perform a mental fire drill. When not if a version of that event occurs, you are not ambushed by novelty and emotion. You have already walked through the scenario and, crucially, recognize that your core self, your capacity for reason and choice, remains intact. You have a pre-framed response, not a panicked reaction. More powerfully, this practice starkly reveals the temporariness and borrowed nature of all externals. As you visualize life without your health, your job, or even your loved ones, you return to the present moment with their presence feeling like a vivid gift, not a guaranteed entitlement. This daily mental rehearsal dissolves entitlement and fosters a resilient, ready appreciation for the present. The person who has calmly contemplated loss is far less likely to fly into a rage over a minor inconvenience like a spoiled meal or a delayed package, because they maintain a visceral awareness of true scale and true blessing. Their cool is maintained by perspective. However, even with these frameworks in place, the raw material of experience, impressions, sensations, initial feelings constantly assaults our senses. The final foundational habit is the discipline of assent, the crucial pause between an external stimulus and our internal endorsement. Imagine a thought or emotion as a visitor knocking at the door of your mind. The untrained mind flings the door open instantly, identifies wholly with the visitor, "I am angry," and lets it take over the house. The Stoic, through the discipline of assent, learns to first look through the peephole. As Epictetus taught, it is not events that disturb people, but their judgments concerning them. The initial impression, "that person insulted me," is not the problem. The problem is automatically assenting to that impression as a complete and binding truth. The habit is to insert a moment of space, to say to the impression, "Wait, let me see you for what you are. Is it truly an insult, or is it a statement of fact? Is it a deliberate attack, or a poorly worded expression of their own frustration? Is it even about you at all?" In that pause, you reclaim your sovereignty. You examine the impression against the standards of reason and virtue. You may then choose to reject it as false, accept it as true but not damaging, or accept a modified version of it. This micro-habit is the very mechanism of emotional regulation. The flash of anger arises, an involuntary physiological reaction, but you do not add the fuel of your judgment to it by assenting to a narrative of victimhood or vengeance. You let the flash subside, and then choose a response aligned with wisdom and justice. This is the essence of never losing your cool, not the absence of the initial spark, but the refusal to feed the fire. Together, these three interlocking habits form the bedrock of the Stoic mindset. The dichotomy of control teaches you where to invest your emotional energy. Negative visualization prepares you for life shocks and fosters grounded gratitude. The discipline of assent gives you the tool to manage the moment-to-moment onslaught of impressions. By internalizing these principles, you begin the construction of your inner citadel. Your cool is no longer at the mercy of events because you have drawn a clear, unbreachable line between the chaos of the world and the ordered realm of your own choices. You stop being a reactive participant in every drama and start becoming the author of your own character. This foundation is not built in a day, but through daily, deliberate repetition. It is the mental equivalent of strength training, forging a resilience that ensures when the winds of fortune blow, as they always will, you are not a leaf tossed in the gale, but a deeply rooted tree, bending perhaps, but unbroken and eternally calm at your core. The subsequent chapters will build upon this stable ground, introducing the daily practices, interpersonal strategies, and advanced mental frameworks that turn this foundational understanding into an unshakable way of being. A foundation, no matter how sound, requires daily maintenance. The Stoic mindset described in Chapter 1 is not a theoretical belief system to be admired, but a set of muscles to be exercised. Without consistent practice, the clarity of the dichotomy of control blurs in the heat of the moment. The foresight of negative visualization is forgotten, and the crucial pause of the discipline of assent is overrun by habit. To make these principles instinctual, to weave them into the very fabric of your being, you must engage in deliberate daily disciplines. This chapter moves from theory to regimen, outlining the concrete, actionable habits that transform Stoic philosophy from a library of great ideas into a lived experience of profound calm. These are the drills of the mind, the morning reveille and evening retreat that condition the spirit for whatever the day may bring. We will focus on 4 core daily practices: morning preparation, the view from above, evening review, and voluntary discomfort. Together, they form a daily cycle of preparation, perspective, reflection, and strengthening that systematically builds an unassailable inner fortitude. The Stoic day begins not with reacting to the world, but with proactively setting the inner tone. Morning preparation, or premeditatio, is the intentional mental rehearsal of the day ahead, guided by Stoic principles. This is not simply making a to-do list. It is a philosophical alignment of intention. Before the chaos of emails, messages, and demands begins, you retreat into a quiet space, physical and mental, and visualize the coming hours. As you walk through your schedule, you actively apply the dichotomy of control. You remind yourself, today, I may encounter a difficult person, a frustrating delay, or an unexpected setback. These things, their behavior, the traffic, the system failure are not within my power. But my patience, my perseverance, my kindness, and my commitment to doing my work with excellence are within my power. You set your intentions not on specific fragile outcomes. The meeting must go perfectly, but on immutable virtues. I will be thorough, just, and calm, regardless of the meeting's outcome. You also briefly engage in a mild form of negative visualization, considering what could go wrong and mentally affirming your ability to handle it with composure. This practice, which takes only 10 to 15 minutes, accomplishes two vital things. First, it inoculates you against the tyranny of the urgent. By already having considered potential annoyances, they lose their power to surprise and trigger you. Second, it installs a pre-programmed response. When the predicted frustration arises, there is a faint echo. This is what I prepared for. My job is not to prevent this, but to respond to it with the virtue I chose this morning. You enter the arena of life not as a naked, unprepared gladiator, but as an armored philosopher, mentally equipped for the fray. As you move through your day, a powerful habit to maintain perspective is practicing the view from above, the Stoic flight. This cognitive exercise, frequently used by Marcus Aurelius, involves mentally zooming out from your immediate, often myopic concerns to see the bigger picture. When you feel a surge of irritation in a long queue, or anxiety about a professional slight, you pause and perform this mental ascent. First, visualize the room you are in from the ceiling. Then see your building, your street, your city from above. Expand further to see your country, the continent, the planet, a pale blue dot hanging in the immense blackness of space. Now contemplate the span of time. Your current worry, seen against the backdrop of centuries of human history and the billions of lives being lived simultaneously, begins to shrink to its true, often minuscule, proportion. This is not meant to belittle your experiences, but to contextualize them. The project deadline, the harsh email, the social slight, do they truly merit the loss of your inner peace, your apatheia, freedom from destructive passions? The view from above instills a cosmic humility. It reminds you that you are a part of a vast, interconnected whole, and that your individual drama is but one thread in an immense tapestry. This habit directly counters the ego's inflation of every minor event into a catastrophe. It is an instantaneous source of calm, pulling you out of the subjective storm and into the objective calm of a wider reality. By regularly practicing this shift in perspective, you train yourself to default to a more measured, less emotionally reactive stance. The things that once made you lose your cool are revealed for what they often are: temporary, insignificant blips in a grand and beautiful universe. The day's work is not complete without an audit. The evening review, or examination of conscience, is the Stoic practice of closing the loop. Just as the morning prepared you, the evening reflects upon your performance. This is not a time for self-flagellation over mistakes, but for dispassionate, journal-based analysis. Seneca was a devoted practitioner, ending his days by asking himself questions like, what bad habit did I cure today? What fault did I resist? In what respect am I better? The process is simple. Review the key moments of your day, especially those where your cool was tested. Examine your reactions through the lens of Stoic doctrine. Where did you successfully apply the dichotomy? Where did you mistakenly treat an external as if it were under your control? Did you grant assent to an unhelpful or exaggerated impression? The goal is not to judge yourself harshly, but to learn with the detachment of a scientist studying data. If you lost your temper, analyze the trigger and the underlying judgment that fueled it. Resolve to insert a longer pause next time, or to reinterpret the event. Crucially, also note your successes. When did you maintain composure under pressure? When did you choose kindness over retaliation? Acknowledging progress reinforces the neural pathways of virtue. This nightly ritual of honest self-confrontation prevents the accumulation of unresolved emotional baggage and ensures that every day, even the difficult ones, contributes to your philosophical progress. It turns experience into wisdom. Finally, to actively strengthen your resilience, you must periodically engage in voluntary discomfort. This is the deliberate, temporary embrace of minor hardship to fortify yourself against future, involuntary hardship. The Stoics were not ascetics who shunned all pleasure, but they understood the danger of becoming too soft, too attached to comfort. By willingly experiencing slight deprivations, you prove to yourself that you can endure them, thus robbing adversity of its primary weapon, the fear of the unknown and the unbearable. This can be as simple as taking a cold shower, skipping a meal, walking instead of driving, sleeping on a firmer surface, or spending a period in silence. The point is not the discomfort itself, but the mental rehearsal. As you voluntarily stand in the cold water, you are not just showering. You are practicing the mantra, "I can endure this. I am separate from my physical sensations. My will is intact." This practice serves multiple purposes. It builds anti-fragility, the quality of gaining strength from stressors. It cultivates gratitude for the comforts you normally take for granted, a powerful complement to negative visualization. Most importantly, it shrinks the domain of things that can make me lose my cool. When you voluntarily faced greater discomforts, a long wait, a boring task, or a minor physical inconvenience ceases to be a trigger for agitation. You have, through practice, expanded your zone of tolerance. Your cool is maintained because you have actively tested its limits and found them to be far beyond daily irritations. These 4 daily practices: morning preparation, the view from above, evening review, and voluntary discomfort, create a sustainable ecosystem for Stoic growth. They are the drills that turn philosophy into phronesis, practical wisdom. The morning sets your virtue-aligned intentions. The perspective shift maintains your calm during the day. The evening review consolidates your lessons, and voluntary discomfort stress tests your resilience. This cyclical routine ensures you are not merely reading about Stoicism, but living it. You are no longer building your inner citadel from the outside in, hoping it will hold. You are living within its walls every day, constantly reinforcing them, familiar with every stone and passage. Your cool becomes not a lucky state, but a predictable, earned result of your daily discipline. In the next chapter, we will explore how this fortified self engages with the most challenging arena of all, other people. The true test of philosophy is not conducted in solitude, but in the crowded, unpredictable theater of human relationships. It is easy to maintain a Stoic calm while meditating at dawn. The challenge is to preserve it during a tense argument, in the face of insult, or amidst the demands of frustrating people. Our social bonds and conflicts are the most potent triggers for losing our cool, as they engage our deepest instincts for recognition, fairness, and belonging. Stoicism, far from advocating withdrawal, provides a profound and practical framework for navigating interpersonal dynamics with wisdom, justice, and unshakable composure. This chapter addresses the application of Stoic principles to our social sphere, focusing on 4 critical habits for interpersonal mastery: seeing the obstacle as the way, practicing empathetic interpretation, controlling your speech and reaction, and the duty of amorphagy in relationships. These practices transform social friction from a source of distress into the very material for practicing virtue. The first and most empowering habit is adopting the mindset of seeing the obstacle as the way. This famous Stoic turn of phrase, later echoed by Marcus Aurelius as the impediment to action advances action, reframes the difficult person or challenging interaction, not as a deviation from your peace, but as the central path to achieving it. Every irritating colleague, every demanding family member, every unreasonable customer is not an interruption to your philosophical practice. They are the practice itself. Your goal is not to live a life free of difficult people and impossibility, but to cultivate the virtue to deal with them wisely. The difficult person becomes your sparring partner for patience. The unfair critic becomes your trainer in humility and discernment. The liar becomes your test in integrity. By shifting your internal goal from "I want this person to change, leave me alone," to "I want to exercise my virtue in response to this person," you reclaim all power. Their behavior becomes irrelevant to your success metric. In fact, from this perspective, a perfectly smooth, agreeable day offers little training value. It is the sandpaper of social friction that smooths and shapes your character. When you actively welcome the challenge, not masochistically, but as an athlete welcomes a tough opponent, you disarm the situation emotionally. Anger and frustration are reactions to a thwarted will. When your will is aligned not with changing the other, but with testing your own character, nothing they do can thwart you. The obstacle becomes the way forward for your own growth. Your cool is maintained because the interaction is now serving your purpose, not opposing it. When confronted with offensive or puzzling behavior, the default human reaction is to take it personally and assign malicious intent. The Stoic antidote is the habit of empathetic interpretation, or what Marcus Aurelius called working through the real nature of a thing. He urged himself to constantly inquire into the causes of others' actions. When you are offended by someone's lack of shame, ask yourself, but is it possible for there to be no shameless people in the world? This is not naive forgiveness, but a disciplined exercise in understanding causality. Before assenting to the impression, "They did this to hurt me," you search for more probable, less personal explanations. Perhaps they are acting out of ignorance, fear, pain, or a misguided sense of their own good. As Epictetus said, every person is not doing what they think is wrong. They are acting in accordance with their own, flawed judgment. This habit forces you to engage your reasoning faculty rather than your emotional reflexes. It involves a deliberate cognitive pause where you consider, what pain might be driving their aggression? What insecurity is behind their boastfulness? What fear is causing their resistance? This does not mean you condone bad behavior, but you understand its source, which allows you to respond from a place of strategic clarity rather than blind reaction. You begin to see the other not as a villain attacking you, but as a fellow fallible human, stumbling in the dark like everyone else. This perspective generates compassion, which is incompatible with rage. It is hard to lose your cool at someone you genuinely pity or understand. Your response can then become a calm correction, a firm boundary, or a silent dismissal, all chosen from a place of strength, not wounded ego. Understanding must be coupled with self-control. The next critical habit is the rigorous control of your speech and reaction. Stoicism places immense emphasis on the discipline of the tongue and the body, for these are the primary outlets through which we lose our cool and cause damage. The goal is to make your response a conscious choice, not a leaked emotion. Seneca advises, the best remedy for anger is delay. When provoked, your first and most sacred duty is to say nothing, to do nothing. Force a physical pause. Take a deep breath, count silently, even excuse yourself from the room if necessary. This creates the space for the discipline of assent and empathetic interpretation to operate. Within that space, you govern your outward expression. Your speech should be measured, necessary, and aimed at the good, not at emotional release. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say true? Is it necessary? Is it kind, or at least just? This filters out retaliatory insults, sarcasm, and threats. Similarly, control your physical reaction. A calm demeanor, steady eye contact, and relaxed posture are not only disarming to an aggressor, but also signal to your own nervous system, that you are in command. This outward discipline reinforces inward calm. By refusing to let the inner turmoil dictate your external performance, you often find the inner turmoil itself begins to subside. You become like the deep ocean, which may have powerful currents beneath, but presents a serene, unbroken surface to the storm above. This habit ensures that even if you feel the initial heat of anger, a physiological response you may not fully control, you never let it escalate into a destructive word or action that you will later regret. You remain the author of your conduct. Finally, all interpersonal challenges are to be met with the overarching attitude of amor fati, the loving acceptance of one's fate applied to relationships. This means not just tolerating, but embracing the specific people and social tests life has allotted you. Your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, they are your assigned curriculum in the school of virtue. To wish for a different set of people is to wish against the fabric of reality, a sure path to misery. As Epictetus reminds us regarding relatives, it is your business to behave well to them, but not to demand the opposite from them. You can only control your role as a son, sister, friend, or colleague. Their role is theirs to play, well or poorly. This habit involves a deep-seated acceptance that these particular individuals, with all their flaws and virtues, are your given social material. Your task is to carve the best possible relational sculpture from that specific block of marble, with all its inherent cracks and hardness. This mindset eliminates the draining energy of resentment and complaint about others' inherent natures. You stop trying to change the unchangeable and focus entirely on perfecting your own responses. It also allows you to find the hidden gift in every difficult relationship. The stubborn relative teaches you patience. The competitive peer teaches you integrity under pressure. The ungrateful person teaches you intrinsic motivation. By loving your fate in relationships, not the person's hurtful actions, but the opportunity for growth they represent, you transform your social world from a battlefield into a gymnasium. Every interaction becomes a rep for your character. Mastering these 4 interpersonal habits, seeing the obstacle as the way, practicing empathetic interpretation, controlling speech and reaction, and the duty of amor fati, equips you to move through the social world with unparalleled stability. You cease to be a puppet whose strings are pulled by others' opinions and behaviors. Instead, you become an immovable pillar of rational virtue, around which the social winds may blow, but cannot topple. Difficult people no longer threaten your peace. They confirm your purpose. Insults no longer breach your citadel. They bounce off its walls, revealing their own impotence. You maintain your cool not by avoiding conflict, but by redefining conflict as the very substance of your philosophical training. With this internal social compass set, we turn in the final chapter to the ultimate integration, building an unshakable, lifelong Stoic character that can face any of life's vicissitudes with unwavering resolve. The ultimate aim of these Stoic habits is not to win a daily battle against irritation, but to win the war for your soul. It is to forge a character so resilient, so aligned with nature and virtue, that equanimity becomes not an effortful achievement, but your default state of being. This final chapter synthesizes the foundational mindset, daily routines, and interpersonal strategies into a coherent, lifelong philosophy of strength. We move from tactics to integration, focusing on the principles that cement Stoicism as a permanent, unshakable aspect of your identity. This involves 4 culminating habits: living in accordance with nature, embracing your mortality, memento mori, cultivating the inner court, and the commitment to continuous practice. These are the meta-habits that ensure your Stoicism deepens with time, turning fleeting moments of cool into an unwavering, granite-like core that can withstand any of life's ultimate tests. The guiding star of the entire Stoic system is the principle of living in accordance with nature. For a Stoic, nature has a dual meaning, both the wider, rational order of the cosmos and your own specific human nature as a rational, social being. To live in accordance with it is to fulfill your highest purpose. Your human nature is defined by your capacity for reason, logos, and your innate drive toward community and justice. Therefore, any thought or action that is irrational, excessively passionate, unjust, or antisocial is against nature, and thus a source of internal discord, the very root of losing your cool. Integrating this principle means constantly auditing your impulses and judgments against this standard. Is this thought rational? Is this action just? Does it contribute to the common good? When you feel agitation rising, it is almost always a signal that you are violating this principle in some way, perhaps by irrationally demanding the world be other than it is, contrary to external nature, or by allowing a lower, beastly passion to overrule your higher rational faculty, contrary to your internal nature. For instance, road rage is a violation of nature. It is irrational. The traffic jam exists. Your anger won't dissolve it. It is unjust. You are likely assigning malicious intent to strangers, and it harms the social bond, contributing to aggression. By making according to nature your primary filter, you have a universal criterion for correct action. Your cool is maintained because you are in harmony with reality itself, flowing with the current of the cosmos rather than exhausting yourself by swimming against it. Your desires align with what is true and possible, and your actions align with your best self. This alignment produces a profound, non-contingent peace. The most potent practice for grounding this alignment and prioritizing what truly matters is the mindful contemplation of death, memento mori. Remember you must die. Far from a morbid fixation, this is a life-affirming clarifier. The Stoics, like Seneca, urge daily meditation on mortality. Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. The one who puts the finishing touches on their life each day is never short of time. By regularly and vividly imagining the finitude of your life, that everyone you know, everything you own, and all your current projects are transient, you perform a radical triage on your priorities. The petty grievances, status anxieties, and minor irritations that consume so much emotional energy are instantly revealed as the trivia they are. Would you spend your final hour fuming over a critical email? Would your last conversation be a bitter argument? Memento mori is the ultimate perspective tool, dwarfing even the view from above. It forces the essential questions. Is this worth my limited time and energy? Is this how I wish to use my precious moments of consciousness? This habit does not make you passive, but fiercely active about what is meaningful. It inspires you to resolve conflicts, express appreciation, and do meaningful work now. When you operate from this awareness, you simply cannot afford to lose your cool over nonsense. Your emotional responses become reserved for things of true weight, and even then, are tempered by the wisdom of impermanence. Your cool is maintained by a constant, gentle awareness that life is too short to be the prisoner of passing passions. As you internalize these principles, your evaluation of success and failure undergoes a radical inversion. This is the habit of cultivating the inner court. The untrained mind looks for validation, safety, and happiness in externals, praise, wealth, status, and the opinions of others. This makes you perpetually vulnerable, as you have anchored your self-worth to things outside your control. The Stoic severs this anchor and remoors it within. You shift from an external locus of evaluation to an internal one. Your only true court is the court of your own reasoned judgment and moral intention. As Epictetus said, if you wish to be a writer, write. The outcome, fame, sales, criticism is not your concern. Your concern is the excellence of the effort itself. Did you act with virtue? Did you exercise courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom? If the answer is yes, then you have succeeded, regardless of the external result. A project can fail in the marketplace, but be a success in your inner court because you were diligent and creative. A conversation can turn hostile, but be a success because you remained calm and just. This habit renders you invulnerable to insult because the critic's opinion is a datum, not a verdict. It frees you from performance anxiety because your metric is your own preparation and integrity, not the fickle judgment of others. When you no longer need the world to approve of you to feel at peace, the world loses all power to upset you. You become like a skilled sailor who judges himself by his seamanship, not by the presence or absence of a storm. Your cool is unbreakable because your self-esteem is self-generated and virtue-based, tied to the only thing that can never be taken from you, your character. Finally, all of this rests upon the non-negotiable commitment to continuous practice. Stoicism is not a philosophy you learn. It is a philosophy you do. It is a craft, and like any craft, it requires daily, humble practice. There will be days you fail. You will lose your temper, succumb to vanity, or act out of fear. The Stoic response to failure is not guilt or abandonment of the project, but immediate analysis and renewed effort. As Seneca noted, sometimes, even to live is an act of courage. Progress is not linear. The key is to view the entire of life as your training ground. Every moment, from the mundane commute to the life-altering crisis, is an opportunity to practice. This commitment means regularly revisiting the foundational texts, Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, not as an academic exercise, but as a mechanic consults a manual. It means maintaining your daily routines, morning and evening rituals, even when you feel you don't need them, precisely so they are ingrained when you do. It means seeking out challenges, not avoiding them. It means having a philosopher's mindset toward your own flaws, observing them with curiosity, working on them with patience, and forgiving yourself with compassion as you would a student who is still learning. This lifelong commitment transforms Stoicism from a tool you use into the person you are. The habits become so woven into your subconscious that they operate automatically. Facing a setback, you don't consciously recite the dichotomy of control. You simply feel a calm assessment of what is yours to do. Faced with an insult, the pause and empathetic interpretation happen in a flash. This is fluency. Your cool is no longer a conscious achievement, but an expression of your nature. By integrating these four culminating principles, living according to nature, remembering your mortality, judging yourself by your inner court, and committing to lifelong practice, you achieve the Stoic ideal, a life of eudaimonia, of human flourishing. This is not a happiness dependent on external luck, eutychia, but a profound fulfillment that comes from living excellently, in harmony with the cosmos and your own best self. You become, in the words of Marcus Aurelius, antifragile, not just unbroken by chaos, but strengthened by it. The goal of never losing your cool is revealed in its full depth. It is the outward sign of an ordered soul. It signals a mind that has made peace with reality, a will aligned with virtue, and a spirit that finds its strength within. The storms of life will continue to rage, but you will have become the calm at the center, not by chance, but by the diligent, daily sacred work of philosophy. This is the promise of Stoicism, an unshakable freedom available to anyone willing to undertake the work, starting now with the very next impression that knocks at your door.